drifted alarmingly in the betting was, Felsted in the morning continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
A warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday sermon. We're back after a short enforced break due to no Friday tipping show, sadly due to the death and passing of Her Majesty the Queen, who was an outstanding contributor to racing over the years, provided us with much quality in her horses, Gold Cup winners, and just want to touch with you, John and Chris. Let's go. Any best horses you remember, John? I can remember Dunfermline when it beat Alleged in the Ledger, which was a surprise. But
Leicester had a stinker,
yeah. I think you've told me about this before with Leicester on Alleged. Yeah. So that was a shock. Obviously, the Queen winning the St Ledger with Dunfermline. No one expected that. And over the years, certain performances for me, I can remember. There's two horses in particular. Flight of Fancy, which she was a sort of a bit of a funny filly. She was obviously second in the Oaks. I backed her to win the Musidora. Was impressed, and then she got beat in the Oaks. John, I can't remember what beat in the Oaks. What was it?
Wasn't it that one with the dark blue with the green seams?
Imagine, was it? No,
yeah, I think it might have been.
Imagine. It was the O'Brien horse anyway, wasn't
it? Green seams on the wicket
then. And obviously that. But what you've touched on in the past, particularly with the Queen, is the sort of breeding lines in that a lot of the Queen's mares,
a lot of red hot mares.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, you're really wary of. Really, I mean, prior to them getting rid of Height of Fashion, I mean, they had some pretty good breeding operations going. You know, I mean, they had nice horse I always remember from like the Rose Bowl era, about 75, 76, was a horse called Joking Apart. That never seemed to run a bad race. It was one of my favourites as a kid, believe it or not. I like that horse very much. The trend towards these, well, I won't call them nutcases, but next door nutcases, probably started with that Phantom Gold that won the Ribblesdale.
Yeah.
She was a proper spoke monkey, that one. Trained by Lord Huntingdon. Fairly funny story about him, actually. He had a winner for the Queen at York. And it was one of them back-end meetings where nobody backs a winner. The October meeting, everybody goes expecting to lose all 12 races Friday and Saturday. And this was the last race on the Friday. It was freezing cold. And stood shuffling about on the steps trying to keep warm. And this thing of the Queen's pisses up about 16-1. And he just got his title then, Lord Huntingdon. And there's these two lads in front of me. And one of them says to the other, he says, Lord Huntingdon. He said, who the fucking hell is that? His mate said, I don't know. He said, but he's a lot better than that cunt Hastings bastard he took over from.
Of course, for any of our younger audience, that Lord Huntingdon is William Hastings Bass. He just changed his title. Yeah, quality. Yeah. What did you, John? Another horse I wanted to touch on with you was another favourite of mine that went the wrong way. Carlton Howe.
Yeah, a little bit after my time, that one. He had a problem after the Dante, apparently, and nothing went right in the Derby anyway. Subsequent events show he probably didn't really get the trip anyway, you know. I mean, he was quite impressive in the Dante.
Very.
Very impressive winner on soft as a 12-year-old at Newbury. absolutely hosed up, and I think people were getting excited. It was about Golden Jubilee, yeah, wasn't it?
It was from memory.
Diamond Jubilee,
I'm gonna have
yes.
to check this. I think it's like 2011.
That'd be Diamond Jubilee then, wouldn't it? You know?
Yeah, it was obviously third to Pourmois in Epsom Derby. He beat Seville easily in the Dante, and then after that, its career became a little bit checkered, and a few names were being bandied around about it a year after. Do you think that was because of the setback it had? Maybe.
I think so. I mean, it seemed a very straightforward horse prior to that. Yeah, you know, but they're never as good, are they, when something goes wrong with them? That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's very rare you get them back properly.
Well, it finished up. The best performance after that was second in the Prince of Wales to So You Think.
Yeah.
And then it ended up absolutely. It got beat odds on next time. Its form tailed off. Ended up with Gay Waterhouse in Australia. She got it placed in a couple of Group 1s, but it was never getting to the form. It looked like.
Stayed with Queen's ownership, though, didn't he? I think one of the first one to run in her colours in the Antipodes.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. She didn't pass it on or sell it. Well, does the Queen sell anything?
Well, she saw later fashion.
Was that the one where you said about is it John Warren you sort of slagged off?
Anyway, it was Lord Carnarvon that sold that one, and then ate a fashion the course through Nashwan there.
What a rig that is!
Yeah, but I mean, she did buy West Hillsley out of proceeds. So.
All right. Yeah, but it's just land. It's just land. It's your entire breeding operation. Imagine what she could have been if she'd have kept out of fashion.
Yeah, she's got a good staying stallion there in Nashwan, hasn't she? And a possible Triple Crown winner, because I think she'd have had a bash at the Triple Crown rather than the Arc, wouldn't she?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Chris, any underlying moments in your betting life? You love a bet.
I do.
Any sort of like Queen's horses that you've, you know?
Well, I can't remember what happened an hour ago, so that's a very, very big ask. I have no fucking idea. I have no sort of abiding memories, good or bad, of backing any Queen's horses. But I would say I did tend to avoid them, largely because, you know, I could never quite work out what the plan was for her individual horses. I'm not particularly keen on some of the trainers she used, so I kind of tended to avoid them, perhaps not consciously, but unconsciously. I'm never a huge fan of them, and I echo John's sentiments. In latter years, some of them have had questionable temperaments, so I tended to avoid betting in races where the Queen had a runner, because you never quite know what's going on. So my answer to that is no, but that's I can't remember what happened an hour ago, so that doesn't say a lot.
If I had a strategy for betting all the Queen's horses, it would have been sort of catch them early. It's as if like John says, you know, they're from very fizzy mares that, you know, can produce some real, you know, lunatics, if you like. Yeah. So it's kind of catch them early, and because I've noticed a lot of the Queen's horses seem to do really well at 2 and 3, and then after that, that's it. It kind of you know. There's a few examples of that over the time.
So I think it's very interesting to see what the new king does with them, actually.
Do you think he's going to stay in? Is Charles and Camilla going to stay in, do you think?
Well, she's had shares in horses, hasn't she? Yeah. And let's not forget he was just nutted by Derek Thompson in a charity event, wasn't he, in his riding days?
Yeah, still smarting from that, I think. Yeah,
sure.
Big fella. Yeah, he won't get knighted, will he?
I mean, rest in peace, Your Majesty. Sir Michael Stout was your winningmost trainer from 1998 onwards. Yep. Sorry, I haven't got the full data, obviously.
I imagine Dick Hearn was probably the...
Probably. But in modern day, Sir Michael Stout fared best. Yeah. 109 winners from 516 runners since 1998, and over jumps it was obviously Chemical Nicky, with a lovely 27% strike rate and 61 winners, 223 runners. But just one thing, just to finish, and obviously we're paying tribute here, but still with the Barsters, we can be critical.
Yes.
Not one Northern trainer. What is going off there at Clarence House? This is not good enough. You know, I mean, our Northern boys are as good as anyone if they get the opportunity and given the right horse flesh, and the fact that she spends.
Some are good with any kind of flesh, though, aren't they? To be fair, I mean, they're under both codes.
And the fact the royal family have their dearly stately holiday home up there in Balmoral, there should be at least, if you're not going to touch the North and Malton and Midland. Yeah. No, don't touch Midland, it's the kill. No. Carl Burke maybe, but yeah, why is a Scottish trainer never benefited from having runners for the Queen? That's a mystery to me, why she's done that, because as a monarch she should have full control of where her horses are trained, and it seems like she didn't want to go north of Newmarket.
No. Or west, really. It was sort of Newmarket and Lambourne, isn't it? No?
Yeah.
John Flint never got any runners, did he, for the Welsh or any of that? So never saw too many at Foss Lass.
Yeah, that's it. You know, you've got exactly what will the former Prince of Wales do? You know, he's been the Prince of Wales. Come on, stick one with Christian Williams and land a job.
Yeah. I mean, John Warren must be nervously wondering whether he's still got a role going forward now. I would have thought.
Yeah, I think they'll carry on. I think the love of it. Like Camilla loves it, and he certainly got an interest, but maybe not as much as the Queen. But I definitely think they'll carry on for now.
Well, the funny thing is, I mean, now he's king, he will be strongly advised to drop a lot of his interests, such as climate change and things like that, because it's political, isn't it? Whereas racing's sort of apolitical.
Yeah.
It might be something that they kind of steer him towards spending a bit more time on.
Yeah.
Rather than the black spider notes to certain MPs and things like that.
Yeah.
He needs to get some new colours, though. His colours are crap.
Yeah.
Well, he's getting some new colours, isn't he? He gets hers.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're the road colours. They're not her colours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. No, well, because these are just like red with black sleeves.
Yeah.
Or
blue sleeves and a black hat.
And a black hat. It's pathetic. I mean, anyone could have picked them. I mean, it's just you're royalty, for God's sake. You can have gold pom poms on and anything. You know, do what you want. But no, I don't know. Anyway, that's interesting, John. Didn't know that. Anyway, rest in peace, Your Majesty. But the show must go on, and certainly this show will. We've got an action-packed show for you on this show. So without further ado, John, we need to look at the racing review this weekend, because, to be fair, hasn't it been fantastic action?
To be fair, I mean, it sounds awful. She kind of done us a favour, hasn't she? Because the last 2 days
it's been brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, I've literally struggled to get all my notes down for this show, because literally there's been that much to comment on. So without further ado, then we'll plough on. We'll go to Leopardstown on Saturday, and only thing I've got a bugbear with, it wasn't a bias as such, but I felt if you could control the speed on the front end,
an hell of a job getting at you, didn't they?
There was nothing sort of closing. Obviously, people say, well, what about the Irish champion?
Yeah.
But I mean, they're class acts. But in general, if you weren't in the right spot, it was always going to be a struggle. So that kind of ruined Saturday for me a little bit, because I've sort of like looked at the races I watched and thought, you know, I sort of doubt this kind of thing. Like, I mean, with the kilt winning, I mean, you've got to always doubt something when the kilt wins a race there. So that's my excuse. So anyway,
anything it can do with being a furlong longer, that's straight, couldn't it?
Yeah, it's not. I agree. You just need that more time to. It's not a great track, Leopardstown, for flat racing. Anyways, that's my view. I think, especially sometimes as well, there can be wide biases as well. So sometimes you get this. You can only win if the rail's dead, and you can only win if you're wide, and when ground gets soft. But anyway, look, it still produced some tremendous racing. So we'll go to Irish champion. And Luxembourg. There was a bit of moaning I noticed on social media about the ride Soumillon gave to Vedeni. Personally, I felt it wouldn't have won anyway. Even if he'd have had a clean, nice run, he wouldn't have beat the winner. And I'm sticking up for Ernesto because, as we said on past pods, I said after the French derby that Ernesto was as good as Vedeni because Ernesto was held up off a wide draw, finished fast. Just at the same pace as Vedeni, really. Vedeni just had track position. If anyone listened to me on that show, then you wouldn't have backed Vedeni anyway at 7-4 because Ernesto beat it.
Well, I listened to you when I backed Ernesto. So.
And I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Because, look, yeah, I do. Ernesto was value. I think it was sort of stupid, like 18-1. In places at one point. Mishriff from
informed with Sir Bob Parker, of course, earlier in the year, didn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. To be honest, that's the first time I watched Ernesto because I thought I'll take particular notice of this, because obviously because I know you put Sir Bob in your followers. So yeah, that's the first time I noticed it. But in the context of this, John, Mishriff I think's run a bit flat.
He's had some hard races.
He's had some battles and some wars, and he was clearly below form because he'd have beaten Vedeni Eclipse with a clean run. So the fact that Vedeni beat him with a less favourable trip, shall we say, means Mishriff ran below form. So I think I rated the champion. I rated the winner at about 120. Would that be in your ballpark?
We know what I'm like. You're a little bit generous for me, but
are you a bit lower than that?
No, I was 116.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough because obviously I do think Mishriff was below form. So I wouldn't take this to the bank in terms of this is. In fact, if people start saying Luxembourg to take on Baid, forget that. It's about a stone and beyond. It needs to find to beat Baid. So that's not even on the table. But what makes me laugh is the Racing Post masterclass of a training performance, John, about Luxembourg. This is the man that ran it in the Guineas and knacked it up so it couldn't run in the Derby.
Yeah.
But it's a masterclass.
Well, I certainly think he indicated if he got the Derby trip yesterday, he wasn't stopping, was he? I mean, he outstayed on this still, really. So it's probably a case of what might have been at Epsom. But that said, he was ungainly enough at Newmarket to think he probably wouldn't have handled Epsom terribly well. The Derby winner went round there as though he was on rails. I think he'd have had a hell of a job to beat Desert Crown.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think Desert Crown was standout despite the Derby form not working out. In the Clipper Logistics Boomerang Mile, the Group 2 that followed, I had a little bit of inside info from someone. I thought this was interesting. Jadumi, the winner, that was very impressive, as you saw.
Indeed.
Well, someone tipped me off and said they got first-hand knowledge of this. So I can't name them, obviously, but this horse didn't go straight to Leopardstown. It went to Sheikh Mo's stud in Ireland first. And then went to Leopardstown. Join the dots. Conspiracy theories. you know what I'm getting at. So yeah.
Don't maybe dropping some Newmarket sausages off.
Well, that's it. It's like you when you come to visit me. John brings me some finest cut meat from his local butchers that he uses. So this is it. It could literally be that. It could be that the driver of the wagon, has got a contact at the stud, and he brings him some finest cuts of beef over, John.
Yeah, possibly.
I think the Newmarket sausage is the answer to the puzzle myself, because I mean, you only get fucking Richmond things in Ireland, can't you? There now. So be like a Red Cross parcel, some Newmarket sausage going in there.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to Matron. Just thought I'd just get that snippet in. So Matron, pearls galore for Paddy Toomey. Magic carrots in that yard. But again, it highlighted how difficult it was to close if you could control the pace. I love the racing post. Made all at a good pace. I don't think so. He literally wasn't. And
maybe 5 seconds slow, so
yeah.
No, it's soft ground, but you don't bust the clock ever.
No, it wasn't lung busting. Pearls Glow controlled it. I mean, Homeless Songs. Sadly, if you backed Homeless Songs, you were probably in trouble after the first 2 or 3 furlongs because it pulled way too hard and didn't get home. And the proof in the pudding there is Tenebrism doesn't get a mile properly, and Tenebrism outstayed it on the run to the line, which you'd never have said after its Curragh success earlier in the season, John.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've got on this song about £15 below form and counting.
Yeah. So again, this is more form I wouldn't go to the bank with. Whatever you've backed in that, I just wouldn't trust. I wouldn't trust the
It's very hard not to give Pearls Galore a fairly ridiculous rating as well. I'll be really interested to see what the Racing Post do.
They will do. This is what ratings organisations do, as well as handicappers. They'll end up putting some fancy figure because they'll say
5-year-old mare there rated 108. You know, I wouldn't mind betting the jacker up to 118 at the very least.
Well, the hilarious thing about it, if you say Saffron Beach has ran to its mark of 116,
fucking 125 then.
123 for Pearls Galore. Well, its previous highest ever is 115. Why has it suddenly improved £8 at 5? It hasn't. But that's the point. This is where opinions are great. Like Aidan O'Brien said in the week, opinions make racing and make, we can say one thing, someone else will say something else, someone else will disagree with us and say.
If you say 123, you're saying the ratings have said it's grown a cock.
As a 5th leg. Okay, so that covers off the Leopardstown meeting on Saturday, which was still class, and it was great to have.
It was just lovely to have that racing on, really, wasn't it?
It was wrong to cancel Saturday, in my view, Saturday Sport, because I think Majesty would have got an absolutely superb sort of like respect from crowds in sport across the country. I genuinely think that was a mistake not to do it this weekend. Friday, fair enough. Everyone was taking it in. This is
maybe a good job entry wasn't on, like.
Yeah. Well, sorry, John, I missed that.
It was maybe a good job entry wasn't on.
No.
Yeah, didn't have a national anthem had gone down there.
Yeah. I'm afraid that's it. Certain parts of the world might not be too keen on that.
Gone down like a French kiss at a family reunion.
Right, today we'll cover off today because, of course, the final classic of the flat season. Some jumps fans will be going hooray, hooray, as the jump season draws nearer for you chaps and lasses. But Doncaster kicked off with a modified card. And first thing I want to get off my chest, John, is that idiot in Lambourne, Charlie Hills. What an idiot. He ran Tammawi in the 6.5 instead of the 5.5 for half the money. What an absolute grade A moron. I mean, the horse pulls harder than Callum Best. And Wayne Lineker put together, and it's like it's 1/6, and the perfect scenario is the Portland, isn't it?
Yes. Indeed.
So what does he do? We'll run it in 6.5 on soft ground. Then it'll get no cover. It's in the wrong way. To be fair, it was the wrong place to be on the track, but he got no cover. It was beat after 2 furlongs. An absolute grade A moron. Not to have run in the Portland. When you choice a 2, And like we didn't know what the ground would be, but that doesn't matter because the 5.5, strongly run 5.5, should have suited it down to the ground. And yeah, he'll rue that decision, but that's what you're dealing with. We're better. The Champagne kicked the card off. Chaldean winning. Silver not disappointing. Was that because of tactics, John? Or
I thought it looked rotten before the race. I put up on Twitter actually.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would come out of Sandown terribly well. I thought it run up very light across the lines, and I wasn't surprised it got stuffed, to be honest.
I wish I'd have read it pre-race.
I didn't give that long, to be honest. I was down at the start when I spotted it, really.
Well, that's it. Obviously, it's out home watching on the telly usually with coverage. That's all. That's the amount of notice you can give. But interesting there for listeners what John thought there, paddock-wise on Silver Knot in the Champagne going forwards, that he ran up light. So maybe if Appleby does his usual and runs it quick again next, it might be one again. Yeah, he'll do what Curragh did last year after me and John said, no, well, we can't have this.
Probably running that Curragh race.
So that's racing. I tell you what sort of like, I didn't have a bet in the race, but the Flying Childers, I was really disappointed for the second because I really like her as a filly. To back that up after the Nunthorpe.
Yeah, I backed the winner. I was convinced she wouldn't back up after the Nunthorpe, and I was really amazed how well she ran. To be honest, you
were shrewd because at the end of the day you ended up proving right. But again, she's running an amazing race, and I think if the ground hadn't been as soft, her speed's just.
Oh yes, she'd have muffed that race, no question. I mean, it was probably just the ground that found her out. I got lucky, I think.
Yeah, no. So if you back the Platinum filly today in the Childers, count yourself a little bit unlucky. I was sort of, I mean, obviously I didn't know you backed the other one, John, but I was willing her home just from a supporter's point of view. Portland Chipstead won. Literally, again, this is a frustrating horse because I have actually backed this a few times this season. I mean, you look at the pedigree. It's basically Oxted's full brother, so you know this is going to progress. So idiot here, I've been backing this all early season, thinking, well, this will stride forward this season, and then the last twice it's won, which was Sandown and today, no bets, John, and it did very well to win.
Yeah, I think you can call it the winner a fair way out, actually. It was travelling so supremely well too, I thought. My main bet in the race, Count Dorsey, I was a bit mortified. He absolutely pinged the lids, which meant he was doing more early on than he usually does in these sort of races. And it meant Dave wasn't able to get his usual breather into him. But he run on well towards the finish, sort of indicated how well handicapped he is now when conditions are right. But you don't get paid for that, do you?
No. Count Dorsey ran a blinder as well. On the right part of the track, though, that was the place to be. I felt sort of like centre to far side.
Yeah.
It just stand side, nothing seemed to. And some real idiot riding today, which we'll come on to, well, now. 2:45, John. And again, Johnny's vindicated yet again with his assessment of Holly Doyle in the Doncaster Cup today. If John, I'm going to ask you now, if they did a jockey switch now, it would benefit the horse, wouldn't it?
Well, it would. I mean, she can't hold it. I mean, she for some reason, she just cannot get their ass to drop it. I think somebody that sits a bit deeper into it, drops their hands a bit, settled perfectly all right for Doyler in France last year. That was a slow pace. This was in trouble after they'd gone 2 furlongs, I thought, today.
Yeah, I don't know if Connections listen to this podcast, but I would strongly... And this is no detriment to Holly Doyle. She's a fantastic jockey, a fantastic person. I really, really like her. I've got absolutely no issues, but John made this point a long time ago about the Doyler just not being able to... It's a big horse, not being able to settle because horses because of her size. That's it. It's just...
The physics are against her. She just can't wrap herself around it enough, really. It's not her fault. I mean, she's a smashing rider. She's improving year on year. But, if ours was mine, I wouldn't have her anywhere near it.
No, and I think true shan't. I do think that should be questions asked now. It's sort of say, ITV are quick to play it up when Holy Royal wins and stuff like that. I also think we should be looking at things when things aren't quite going right. Certain jockeys can't get on with certain types of horse. That's a fact, and that's clearly evident, and again pointed out by John on the bar stews a long time ago.
A lot of people said Lester Piggott didn't get the best out of Roberto.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose the Brazilian did at York, and maybe Bill Williamson when it was a running on second in the Guineas. He ran a bit kind of. Piggott always said he didn't do a lot for him.
Exactly. Horses for courses, jockeys for horses, etc. Kazoo Park Stakes, not much to say here really. Like John covered off Alsa Hale. That needs gelding a third time. Kinross had the run of the race. Nothing really to touch on there. We'll go straight to the ledger then, John. This is the race that, obviously, final classic. Eldarov. Where do you sit with this race?
Well, I nailed my colours to them last earlier in the week with Alu Mal or whatever they call it. And I was bitterly disappointed with that. I mean, that hung like a gate the minute it came off it. I thought it was travelling well enough to win it turning in.
Yeah, it's a worry for them. Yeah.
As soon as he came off it, he didn't want to bar it, did he?
No, hung left.
Yeah, I couldn't rate the winner any higher than 110 because I think Haskoy has probably just about hit a rating.
She pulled hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think if she hadn't pulled hard, she'd have probably won the bloody race, which baffles me really because I thought she looked a fussy little bastard before the race. I didn't like the look of her one bit. Diaboletto's run fourth, for God's sake, 104, fairly exposed. And as the ratings are about worked out with Emily Dickinson, you're very hard pressed to give this much more than 110, I think. And I thought he was all in as well.
Everyone's got to feel sorry for me though. Giavolotto Adoc on this show, John. Giavolotto was my big nap for the Bet365 and the big handicap at Adoc. 16 to 1, 12 to 1 it returned. Got beat half a length by Nathaniel Green of Agus off a mark of 92. Yes. What's this about now? Why me?
I know.
I feel like Balotelli with it when he lifts his shirt up. Why always me?
I know.
But yeah, honestly, what a frustrating horse that is for me. That's how racing is.
Yeah.
I agree with you, John. This is not a good ledger. It really isn't. I can't have New London's not run its race. Who knows? I mean, it could have flattened itself.
It looked very clammy before the race. I know there's views on the sweating, but I don't mind them if they form up a bit. I think when you just get that clammy look under the skin, that's when I don't like it. And it was very much like that down at the start. So he's probably done well to run second.
I've actually got a little follower in there. I urge everyone to watch the replay and watch the Philip Defoe runner. Watch that stay on late, right? It was like PJ were riding on third run for a mark. I'm thinking, God, this has just suddenly started to fly in last half furlong. So I mean, the problem is now though. Obviously, he got a mark of 89. It's unfortunately for them. I don't think they'll be winning any handicaps when they re-rate the race. But just what I mean, I don't know what PJ were doing. It was very light stuff late into sixth.
I was just checking to see if he got it in that big mile and a half handicap at Newmarket that they have. It's about 100k for 3-year-olds. But he hasn't.
No, that was definitely the most eye-catching for me in the race. And the problem is with the form. Before people get carried away about how good all these horses are. That horse was rated 89 going into this and has got beat less than 5 lengths. So you can probably imagine what the level of form is. So we'll move on to the Curragh for the Irish lads. And I enjoyed today's meeting at the Curragh. It was soft ground. Some people on Twitter, some good judges, were describing it, oh, it's desperate ground. Forgive them in this ground. No, it wasn't that bad. It's sort of 5-6 second slow ground at the Curragh. That's soft ground. It's not tested. It's just some nice juice in the ground. So I'm not having it that you forgive anything in this, really. I don't think it would be massively disadvantageous unless you wanted good to firm. Above the curve won the Blandford from Insinuendo. I thought La Petite Coco would be a good thing, John. What do you think to this?
I think La Petite Coco's run about a stone below best there today. But can't take away from above the curve. She battled on really like Comanche, didn't she?
Lovely tough filly. She's done well this year.
About 3 wins for you, 5 to follow, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, that aside, I mean, look, she's won a Group 1 and a Group 2 now, and you can't take that away. But as we know, like you've just said, if La Petite Coco's run a race, I'd be amazed. Because she's a lot better than that. Again, we talk about battles, and they ran La Petite Coco on probably quicker than ideal ground at York. That just might have just took the edge off her. She ran big there on ground that didn't suit her, so maybe that was a reason. Incredible display by Highfield Princess in the Flying 5, the Group 1. I mean, this mare is just.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I didn't think she had to be at her best, but she won it in a common canter, really, didn't she?
I mean, like ratings-wise, again, the second's 103 official. So, again, what has she had to run to? I don't know.
And I kind of amused myself. I had a little bet on Castle Star with Jamie Spencer. And I couldn't help but laugh, because it was a small enough bet that I could laugh. He sat there going well, and he waited for the gap to close before he made a move, which was pretty Spencerish, you know. He did have been playing for second. I mean, it didn't make any difference. The winner won handsomely, you know. But I think Castle Star has a race of this nature in him if things drop right at some point on that kind of ground. Definitely travelled really well that day.
Moidler. There appears to be a weapon. I mean, Tahira, obviously a half sister to Tanawa, took the eye on pedigree. Certainly took. If we could have done the show on Friday, I know this sounds terrible, like for me to after time, but yes, I had some decent bets. I mean, basically, I felt that she was a good bet because of the sectional times at Galway. The Galway time of the last 3 furlongs was 1.5 seconds quicker than an 80 horse. It was 3/4 of a second quicker than an 80 horse. That was in July. And the impressive thing there was if you take the weight for age into account at the end of July, it was £30 plus, which brought her out about 105 on debut ears pricked. Well, when the favourite's 109 rated, and she's had 4 goes, or 3 or 4 goes to get there, it kind of impressed me at the prices. But I'm sorry that we didn't do the show. So that's a kick in the bollocks, isn't it? And the kick in the whatevers. So sorry about that. But yeah, I didn't think she was this good, John.
Well, it's very hard to take it away from her, because if she hadn't turned up, they'd have been raving about maybe pissing up by 4.5 lengths, probably shortening her for the guineas, and maybe upping her rating to about 110, 111. It's very, very hard to knock the Aga Khan for the yard. So look, I mean, the jockey rode it with the utmost confidence as well, didn't he? I mean, he knew what he had under him. He wasn't asked how far in front of him Ryan was. Picked her up like the wet gazette, didn't he?
Yeah, I'd love to see the sectional times when they come through. But yeah, I was thinking of Phil, what are you doing? You've let Ryan quick and clear, and yeah, it was just plain. Just picked her up like she was just an ordinary.
Because I mean, he's gone past media, and she's pulling away from the rest. It's very curious of maybe it's stopping. Very impressive.
We'll move on. Yeah, we'll move on to the national stakes. Al Rifar. Bit of a surprise, really. I didn't think I backed Al Rifar to win was it a novice earlier the year? I think.
Last time out, wasn't it?
Yeah, Salt Lake City, and Salt Lake City should have.
Well, Salt Lake City looked as though it was coming over the top of him, didn't he?
And obviously they brought that over for the convivial, and that didn't go well. They bollocks that up, and then this kind of just did what. See, I was unimpressed with Al Rifar that day. I remember talking to you about it and saying, "God, the money's been down on that," and it had, but like you said, Salt Lake City.
That's what I think last week saying about Riffer that for this year, because I was thinking big weight bastard, knock it off now and give a chance to strengthen up. But obviously the baby Joseph knows a lot more than I do. I think shouldn't have blinded that, certainly.
Irish St Ledger. Kyprios is the new year, isn't it? It's gonna win 3.
Yeah, he will, won't he?
It literally is. I just admire those. I didn't admire Ryan's ride, if I'm honest. I honestly believe this horse, when it hits front, does absolutely nothing. It's one of these horses that just, if it's racing against trees, it'll beat them 7 or 8. But if it's racing against something decent, it'll just pick up again. If something comes to it, it picks up again, but it'll just wait. You look, since Kyprios has come into the Group 1 ranks, look at the margins of success, John. So after it beat Sunchart 1 to 10, it's beat Moho Star half a length. It's beat Stradivarius a neck and Hamish 3/4 of a length. I think it's got this uncanny knack of just thinking and looking after itself and saying, I've got you covered, That's what I think about it.
Yeah, and probably last a long time running like that as well.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think this is here to stay as a superstar. We're going to see this until it's sort of 7 or 8 years old.
I thought, for what it's worth, I thought Ray's Hill got an absolutely rotten ride in that.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought Shane Cross just gave it no chance.
Interested if you back Ray's Hill, never put in the race looking at this. The comments, but okay. We'd love to cover Longchamp's action today, but time permitting, we need the rest of the show, so we're not going to bother with Longchamp and the ARC trials. Have you anything in particular, John, that you noticed at Longchamp?
Well, Parisienne was an absolute heartbreaker for me. Locked away on the fence, 3 back. Finally got out. Should have probably won 3 lengths. Just ends up getting right tail next.
Yeah, tactical race. Absolutely total.
And then the only other race of note for me today was the E420 at Chepstow, when George Rook convinced me he might as well have licensing.
George Rick, not George Rook.
Yeah, that was on the nursery horse of Richard Hughes's, if you want to watch that.
Horrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a poor.
I think that was raspberry of the weekend, to be honest.
Yeah, it wasn't great viewing. But there we go. That's the review done. Let's get on to some juicy topics and let's have a light-hearted look of the sport, if that's possible. But it's never possible because it's British racing. How can you be light-hearted about British racing? It's in crisis, and so is racing staff in crisis. Read a brilliant article from Kitty Waddell. That's Kitty at kittygoesracing.co.uk. Said person that's wrote the article has worked in the game, so fully understands it. The writer says that there's a crisis with stable staff. There's a lot of things that are causing this, and one of the principal reasons is that the position of work rider. So if you apply to a yard as a work rider, you basically ride out 6 lots a week for between £400 to £500. Riding 6 lots out a week. All the other times you earn, when the grooms that are cleaning the shit up and doing all the hard yards, they're basically getting paid less, and this is causing. And there's lots of things in this article that are interesting. That so you could be an experienced sort of groom and on less than someone with moderate riding skills that wants to come into a yard as a work rider. Any thoughts on this, chap?
Well, the game's in a shocking state because of the pay structure, isn't it, really? Because if you're a groom, you can't really work full-time and build a life for yourself. You've got absolutely zero chance of buying a house. You've probably got zero chance of meeting all your obligations. In fact, if you're renting somewhere, with the cost of living as it is, it's never attractive, is it, to want people to come into an industry that's going to leave you looking to eat roadkill. That's basically the wage you're on, isn't it?
This is the thing, and the powers that be actually think the plans going forward are perfectly acceptable and adequate. And this is where leadership fails, because trainers are really struggling to fill positions. So what's happening is you're getting lesser standards of candidates. They're actually work riders. In fact, they'll just say they're work riders, and they just shit at riding.
But have you ever had tips off any of them? You know they are fucking shit. Hey, fuck's sake, the amount of bollocks that's been said to me over the years, they couldn't tip shit out of a bucket. So I'm with that.
So you can see the scamming, and then there's people leaving the sport, obviously, because like John says, there's absolutely no prospects for anyone just being a groom and coming in to clean the shit up, put the ace of spades on their arse, and and when for them, best turned out one that goes to the races to collect the
How do you get some poor bastard getting 50 quid for a best turned out? I mean, it's not even a weight shop, is it?
Yeah.
But the economics of the model are fucked, aren't they? I mean, when you've got the energy prices going up, so that's going to impact trainers. Paying staff more, they'll inevitably have to pass on the costs to the owners. The owners are already saying, well, it's too expensive, prize money's rubbish. I mean, it goes to the original argument. There's just no leadership, no proper financial model. So trainers will say, well, I can only afford to pay my staff X, so whoever you get through the door that's it. The whole model's broken, I think.
Yep. Sadly, and obviously this is not going to suit people like me that they're a vermin of the sport, takeout merchants, cockroaches going around taking money off corporations and private bookmakers. You cockroach. So this won't suit me, but Stuart Williams said it as a trainer and he friend of the show, and he stated that for racing to prosper, it has to be done under a tote-based system, like Hong Kong. It has to be with a big rake, like America, with a big rake, big prize money. You get the owners, stable staff are properly paid, work riders are properly paid, and because the system from the top is broken, as in you've got the big corp sucking the game dry. Apps like Chris. How did you describe it? What the big corp are doing?
I can't remember. I say so many things, Lee. None of them.
You stated. I think I've read one of your tweets. And you said it's a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. So ultimately, I think we've obviously we said, well, why is it that bookmakers seem so keen to relinquish the custom of, not necessarily professional punters, but serious regular players? Well, the only conclusion I can draw is that they think they can, maintain the same profits by, attracting lots and lots of one-off punters, right? And so it's akin to a Ponzi scheme. It works perfectly well when you've got a limitless supply of investors. You keep these people coming in and they're having their sort of £10 bets, and if they back a loser, they get another one. But ultimately, when the supply of new punters is exhausted and the existing ones have either walked away from the game or gone somewhere else, the whole pyramid collapses. And it seems to me a very, very short-sighted and bizarre policy to rely on these once-a-year punters, because as John said in the past, they aren't going to be regular race goers. Very few of those people that are attracted by, the pop concerts, etc., are going to say, hey, I really enjoy this sport, I'm going to go racing regularly, and if I can't, I'm going to be a regular punter. They're just not. the demographics wrong. So I think, it is akin to a Ponzi scheme. Great whilst you've got all the punters in, but once you run out of them, where are they going to get them from?
Yeah, suck them dry, bleed them for all they've got, and then move on. And then this obviously then feeds down, because what happens is like you say, owners that are coming to the game to land gambles are finally saying, well, we can't get a bet on anymore. So what's the point in owning one? So they don't bother owning anything, or syndication gets less attractive because you can't get bets on. And then everything sort of like, so trainers then thinking, right, we need to cut costs here. Instead of having 30 staff, we need to have 20 staff. They're probably not as good, but we have to economise. Yeah. And then staff are unhappy because they treat like shit on shit money. And they just say, well, what's point? I love horses, but I just want to leave because I can't cope with this.
It's a two-tier system. Those national hunt and flat trainers who enjoy the patronage of, stratospherically wealthy people, I dare say those stratospherically wealthy people will continue to own horses irrespective of what the economic climate or the prize money is. But for everybody else, who genuinely needs to look at the bottom line, you're right, they're going to cut corners, have less experienced people because they can't afford to pay the experienced staff, and God forbid the experienced staff who can't get employment will say, well, go and do something else, just walk away from the industry completely, undertake a new career. So I just think it goes back to what we said, there's just no strategy, and I just don't see an optimistic outcome for any of this.
No, the sport's in a complete mess, and I fear, like, that's why we're seeing smaller trainers probably retire from the sport or quit the sport, because I could imagine that they're struggling to get staff. They're probably having to work harder than they want to themselves. I could imagine, instead of doing so much, you have to basically put in ridiculous hours to get so very little out of it. So that's why, because if they were getting plenty out of it, they wouldn't be quitting. That's a fact.
And the base costs go up. The feed costs. I read something quite recently have sort of doubled for a certain brand. It's, all the operating costs are going up, and then obviously you've got the energy crisis. You've got owners at a particular sort of rung art struck saying, well, we're not going to wear an increase in training fees while the prize money's so crap. So if you're training for kind of mid-tier or lower tier in quotes owners, it's a very difficult sell. What are you going to say to a new owner? Oh, well, you can pay me 300 notes a week. Okay, what do I get for it? Well, you get to see your horse. Can't even land a touch. You haven't even got that carrot for the punting owner to say, well, look, whatever, we'll try and land a touch with it. That doesn't exist anymore. Well, it's very difficult. So what's the intent? Remember
the old days, like Terry Ramsden and that?
Yeah.
And he's backing horses to win £1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't like ancient history. It's recent history. Where Terry Ramsden, and all right, I know bookmakers want to take him on because it's Terry Ramsden. He probably isn't the shrewdest, but that's the point, though, right? It doesn't matter. You don't even have to be the shrewdest now, and you won't get on. You could have go in a betting shop as a complete random. We carry a bag full of 50s and say, "Can I have 50,000 on this favourite in the 320 at whatever?" They'd look at you and just laugh.
Yeah, precisely. And I've made the point before, and again, I don't know for a fact, but I'm astonished that the level of restrictions that people legitimately complain about on social media. I cannot believe there are that many shrewd punters in the game. I really can't. If we accept the premise that 1 or 2% of punters show a profit over the year, that is not borne out by the restrictions. You mean absolute monks are getting restricted, and they go on as a badge of honor. Oh, look, I've been restricted. Everyone's restricted. And I think that were they to sort of tweak the algorithm and let some of these so-called self-appointed shrewdies play, there'd be those punters will be skint in 6 months. I think bookmakers, they're taking an overly cautious approach because there just simply aren't that many clever people playing. There really aren't.
Fair point, and that's an article worth reading. I'll reiterate again. It's Kitty at kittygoesracing.co.uk. Give that article a read and a retweet and a share. It's a really, really well written piece that deserves a lot of airtime in terms of the sport, and the BHA and Jockey Club should be reading things like this instead of us having to tweet it out and publish it on our show. Right, we'll move on to the Doncaster debacle on Thursday, where there was an article in the Race Post about 31 punters not allowed into Doncaster due to buying off touts. A game that's struggling. There's basically, and in years, you know what's going to be funny in years to come? You know when attendances start dropping because of cost of living crisis and everything else, right? So what happened was the stewards, Doncaster employing, were watching punters buy off touts outside the course, and if they saw said punter buy off a tout, even though the ticket was valid, they were refusing them entry. What on earth are that course? I hate them I hate Arc with a passion. I hate Doncaster Racecourse with a passion.
It's just pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you've had scenarios like this, John. There must have been in your life where I don't know.
Never had well, it's no different to if I've had spare tickets.
Yeah,
Stood outside and said, "I'll give you a tenner for this."
Yeah. I've had it where basically I've got owners' badges and then someone's cancelled, so we're in possession of the owners' badges, and then we've got to the outside of the course, and rather than like a tout saying any tickets, boys, they'll say, how much for these, and then the tout says, hey, I'll give you 50 each or whatever for them. So that kind of scenario. What's wrong with that? If you own that ticket. Right, which even if they're a tout, it doesn't matter. If they own that ticket, then what's wrong with buying that? I just do not get it. It's a massive own goal, and I hope Doncaster starts suffering because they'll soon stop doing that. If you can afford in this climate to turn down 31 paying racegoers, in this climate we're in, which it'll get absolutely astronomically worse,
and paying security guards to monitor it.
Yeah,
sort of the trouble or potential trouble inside the course. No, they're standing up seeing if people sell tickets to touts. It's insane.
A total disgrace. So they're definitely been men of the week. I hate them. Absolutely. That's a strong word to use, but I hate ARC. They are not good for racing. Change of cabinet this week. Is this good or bad for the gambling review, chaps? I'll just list some key appointments. Obviously, Jacob Rees-Mogg is Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy Secretary. He's obviously spoken out already about the restriction of choice regards to gambling, saying no one should be restricted to have a bet. Michelle Donnellan has got the key role as Culture Secretary, the key one, former WWE commercial advisor.
Yeah. Taker, fucking
That's what I feel like some days after a load of gin and some bad bets.
Well, you can always know a tombstone pile driver on the
absolute fucking nonsense, isn't it? God.
The good thing is that the idiot Duncan Smith, who's a terrible human being, absolutely terrible. A man that basically in the past, I don't like bringing politics too much into the show, stripped the disabled of some payments. He's now saying that we shouldn't be gambling with our money. He's not on the list.
Gamble with, so that's a moot point, isn't it?
But I mean, that's the thing. If he'd have been in Liz Truss's cabinet, I would have been concerned because I think he's the key player in this, along with Chris Philp, who happens to be the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, which is again a bit of a worry, but that's Chief Secretary to the Treasury. It's not the main man, but still, it's a bit of a 50-50, but I'm kind of half happy that we stride forward. Right, on to Jimmy Lindley to finish the show. John's told me in advance he's got nothing. His cupboard is bare this week. Yeah, like everybody in Britain.
Fuck all and plenty of it. Yeah.
Everyone's got plenty of fuck all.
I can tell you the quickest route from Dayside to Edinburgh.
John's enjoyed this coverage. 7th of September is a note for your diary. There's a racing question. 6:30 at Kempton. And the 4th horse, Rich Rhythm, trained by Rafe Ralph. This horse is vastly improving. Nothing went right. It's kind of awkward at the start, which is annoying. You don't want to run round bends on the all-weather when you're awkward at the start. So I'd love to see this horse just turn up either on turf on the all weather, maybe Newcastle, the straight 6 or 7, whatever. It probably gets 7, no problem. This horse is a winner in waiting, off a mark of 71 currently. I think this will progress into the mid-80s, no problem. It's a class act off the mark, so this is not one to miss. But you just need the right circumstances. If Ralph takes it over from Rafe and enters it in Wolverhampton, that's bad. You don't want 6 furlong round a bend for this, because it is slightly awkward at the start. So you just need a straight course, really, where it's not going to really affect it that much. So Rich Rhythm going forwards is the handicap snip going into the autumn, chaps, to finish the show. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you, Chris, John, for your contributions.
Thank you.
Hope you've enjoyed it the same. We go forwards, racing as normal, and we're back on Friday with the full tipster show. And we're back on Sunday with the sermon, as always. That's all from me, John, and Chris. Bye for now.